their dream. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I thought someone spoke. Okay. So, yeah. So back to where I was. So career information sessions. Yes. So I wish everyone takes full advantage of this career information session today, because we've had a lot of people in the past score their big dream jobs through career information sessions like these, and this is no different. It's a TMX group. It's a very big deal. So please do take full advantage of this. Two rules before we proceed for tonight's event. I request everyone to please mute yourself throughout the presentation when the four panelists are speaking. This is so that everyone benefits largely from this, and most of your questions that you might have might actually get answered through their presentation. So I request everyone to mute their microphones right now. And during we will have a Q&A session, by the way, which will be after the four panelists have presented themselves, and that will be hosted by my co-host Ohita. At that point, I request anyone who has a question to raise. You have an option to click raise a hand to ask a question, and that's just to be respectful and avoid overlapping conversation. We will call your name out when in the order that your hand is raised. So now, of course, let's talk about why we're all here. On behalf of my co-host Ohita and myself, it's an honor to introduce you to tonight's panelists from the TMX group. Jessica, Mark, Sayere. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Sayera.
Me, myself, Sharare.
Yes, Rochelle and
Serera.
Sayera. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem, Serera.
Are part of the TMX group talent acquisition team. And on behalf of the team at Fresh Start Hub, we welcome you and thank you wholeheartedly for choosing to impact the individuals' lives here today. So I now request Mark to begin by taking over this presentation. And Mark, the virtual stage is all yours.
Excellent, thank you. Let me get the presentation set up. First of all, we'd like to thank all the attendees for joining us this evening. And we also would like to thank David, who I was first connected to, and Fresh Start Hub for giving us this opportunity to be part of the information session tonight, and giving us the opportunity to tell our story. We hope this session is going to be fun and interactive. We hope there's lots of questions at the end. We're really looking forward to that part of it. There are no dumb questions, so don't be shy at all. And at this point, to really kick it off, I'm going to turn it over to Jessica, our Senior Manager of Talent Acquisition, to introduce the team and what we do.
Great. So, Mark, do you want to pull up the slides?
Yes, 1 second.
Perfect, thanks. Excellent. So yes, echoing what Mark said, we're really pleased to be here today. Thank you all so much for taking the time to hear us chat. And hopefully, again, this will be a fruitful and, innovative and exciting information session for you all. And we really hope that you do have lots of questions for us, because we definitely don't want to be doing all of the talking this entire presentation. So with that being said, my name is Jessica Urwenya, and as Mark said, I'm the Senior Manager of Talent Acquisition for the TMX Group. I lead a team of our 4 fearless talent partners. And how our structure works at TMX is a little unique in the sense that we have assigned client portfolios. So each of our business units are really assigned to a specific talent partner within our group. And what that really allows us to do is create not only a great client experience by really getting immersed into the different businesses, their ongoing projects, understanding, the who's and what's of what's happening within those specific business units. It also really allows us to provide a great specific candidate experience for each role. So for each role, we have the background, the understanding of what that role is actually, what its purpose will be. In my opinion, having been a job seeker in the past, there's nothing worse than talking to someone about an opportunity and not having them be able to answer all of your questions. So what this allows us with this unique model is it allows us to have all of that information for you. So not only does it relate into a excellent client experience, but also a really great candidate experience. And it makes sure that we're matching candidates correctly to these opportunities and that we're creating lasting tenure with the organization and setting these individuals up for success. Oh, Mark, are we presenting? Perfect. Awesome. So before I get into actually, going into the TMX group and of course who we are and what we do, I would like to take this time to introduce my team. So they're going to share a little bit about them and their journey with TMX. And we'll start off with Sarera.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Rakwi. People call me Saray. So what makes me different from this group is that I'm the only one based in Montreal, as the rest of the group is based in Toronto. As you can see, I'm Asian. I'm actually trilingual, but as you, I'm an immigrant, but from Southeast Asia. And I've been in Canada and in the province of Quebec for quite a while. And I grew up and learned French and afterwards learned English, mostly by watching movies, and also working in English really helped me perfected it. So I've been with this great Canadian company for 14 years. So 14 years with TMX. So why so long? People always ask me that question. So exciting years, challenging years, different ones. So as my colleague Mark would say, it's like working in a new company every year. So I've been very lucky playing different roles as well throughout my journey at TMX. What else about me is that I learned this new industry when I joined TMX. I had no idea. My background at school was hospitality and tourism, and I worked in a 5-star hotel in HR before joining TMX, actually. So in my current role, as I'm based in Montreal as a talent acquisition partner, I support the Montreal region in terms of the hires. Since we have an office of about 270-ish employees, I do also support hiring in the Toronto region and in Asia recently for many roles, but they're all mostly related to the trading business, post-trading business, IT, compliance, risk management, and corporate roles such as in legal and accounting. So that's
Excellent.
very much about me.
Thanks, Sarera. And now I'll kick it over to Rochelle, if you'd like to introduce yourself, Rochelle.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. Just to exactly echo off of Saray and Jess, it's nice to see everyone, see all these faces joining us today. A little bit about myself in terms of my journey here at TMX. Fairly new to the organization, actually. I think I'm coming up to my 8 months with TMX, and what an 8 months it's been. It's been absolutely wonderful. I've actually joined in this virtual environment, which I know a lot of us are navigating through, whether it's on a job search or just navigating through everyday life in a virtual environment. The team is one of the best teams I've worked with without saying. And I think from a portfolio perspective, I've been able to really get in and support a lot of our different clients, which we'll talk more about today. And in terms of my journey of how I came to be at TMX, before I was working within investment management as more of an HR generalist role, so kind of covering all things HR. Talent's always been a big piece of that, and always something that I've enjoyed in interacting with candidates, clients, and just helping people discover their dreams of where they want to be. So really looking forward to getting to know all of you guys today, and I'll kick it off to Mark. MJ Smooth, you there, Mark?
Mark, you want to unmute?
Let's see if he's here.
There we go.
There we go.
Only 15 months of working from home, but I don't know how to do unmute.
All good.
So I've had a different journey, long journey. Before joining TMX, I had probably 10 years experience in agency recruitment, anywhere from chip engineers to pharmacists to accountants to roofers. I think I've recruited for almost anything or everything. But in 2011, got the opportunity to finally work for a corporate or have a corporate role. Definitely, it's been, to Sarera's point, an amazing journey. Literally every few years, it seems like a different organization. We're always evolving, always new exciting projects coming through. The roles that I'm working on now are completely different than the ones I was working on, 10 years ago when I started. Always looking forward to the future. My parents came to Canada in 1970 from Dominica, not the Republic, in the West Indies. And so I was born here, but of course, have some roots in the West Indies to start. So I'm going to turn it over to Jessica now. Tell us about yourself.
Yes. So as I mentioned, I do get to I have the pleasure of managing this team. I've been with the organization for 4 years, and I come from a pretty diverse background, worked in retail management and retail for many years as a national training manager for a major shoe brand, and then made the move into agency recruitment, where I was able to recruit on national accounts for some of the big five, the big banks and things like that. And then naturally through my network, this opportunity with TMX 4 years ago came along. It was a contract talent acquisition specialist. And I was lucky to be chosen for the role. And since then I've held roles as talent acquisition specialist, talent partner, and now a senior manager of talent acquisition. And in between all of that, I had a baby, and I have a 3-year-old daughter as well. So similar to, Mark and Sarah, as they said, I am also the children of immigrants. My father came here in the 70s from Colombia in South America. And I have a rich history on my mother's side, dating back many generations in Italy as well. So we all bring a diverse set of experience, both from a background and from a recruitment experience perspective as well, which is why I love working with this team so much. So with that being said, Mark, we'll flip over to the next slide. And we'll talk a little bit about who we are, sort of, and what TMX, what is it? And I think a lot of the times when we speak with people, they're not really sure what the TMX is and sort of who we are. So in its simplest form, what we do is we operate global markets, and we build digital communities, analytic solutions. And what those do is they help to facilitate the funding, the growth, and the success of businesses. So whether that's businesses that list on the exchange, whether that's traders, whether that's investors, and we have over 1,500 employees globally that sit in our headquarters here in Toronto, but we also have offices in Montreal, where Sarera is. We've got offices in Calgary, Vancouver, New York, Houston, London, Beijing, and again, hopefully many others in the future. So both the TSX, so the Toronto Stock Exchange, and the TSX Venture Exchange, which is actually very unique and one of its kind, are really, I would say, Canada's leading sort of public equities markets. So we are Canada's largest source of liquidity and pricing for Canadian securities. And we have over 3,500 companies listed on the exchange itself. Many of those I feel like being done within the first quarter of this year, as we've been super successful, which is great given all of the economic turmoil worldwide. Also, we've provided companies very uniquely with access to equity capital through our TSX Venture Exchange. And like I mentioned, this is a unique concept. It's one of its kind across the globe. And we've been doing this for over 160 years. So we really have a well-respected market for investors and the trading community within the Canadian capital markets and globally. In March of 2020, just like many other companies, we had no choice but to rapidly pivot to 100% remote with the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. And as Mark and Sarera mentioned, how we've innovated and how our company has evolved, that we almost feel like we work for a different company after all these years. A lot of that has to do with our technology stack and how that's innovated over the last several years. That highly innovative technology stack that I'm talking about is really what allowed us to transition super easily. I'm talking within, 2 weeks, we were ready to go interviewing, hiring, and onboarding remotely. And I don't think we would have been able to do that without all of the different skill sets that we all bring as individual talent partners, but also with our technology offering that we have, because we were doing, virtual interviews for about, I would say, 2 years prior to the actual COVID-19 pandemic. And we've been fortunate enough to have hired and onboarded over 300 globally, employees globally since the onset of the pandemic, which for a company of 1,500 people, I think is pretty great. So kudos to the team for working so hard. And finally, before I share a quick video with you guys about our culture, I just want to let you guys know, a little bit about how our culture really works. And it's really built on our people. And those are who really power the success of our organization. And what we really aim for as a talent acquisition team and as an organization as a whole is to offer these individuals that join us more than a job. It's really the opportunity to work with, some of the most respected industry and thought leaders in the business. Like, we're really talking, the best of the best that in the Canadian capital markets that work for us. And I'm not biased, I promise. This is actually true. More importantly, we really encourage our employees to explore their potential, whether it's from a technology perspective, a development perspective, and use the tools that we have available to them to really build a great career that's both rewarding and fulfilling. And we really want those individuals that are motivated to really challenge the status quo at TMX. And those are some of the big things that we really look for. So with that being said, before I pass it over to Rochelle to talk a little bit about what we're doing and some of our specific businesses, I would really like to share with you a short video that kind of talks a little bit about our culture and will give you guys a little bit of perspective into our position in the capital markets. Can everybody hear the video?
No, Jess, I don't hear it on my end.
Okay.
No.
1 second. I forgot to click share sound. There we go.
TMX Group sits at the heart of Canada's capital markets, with a history dating back more than 165 years. Today, we are a global enterprise, supporting growth for clients across multiple marketplaces around the world. TMX has a rich, colorful, and proud history. And as we look to the future, our newly invigorated culture and modern work environment will serve to fuel and inspire our ongoing work to build on that legacy, to be the TMX that our clients, shareholders, employees need us to be.
At TMX, the future is yours to see.
Voir le futur, réaliser l'avenir.
The future is yours to see.
Voir le futur, réaliser l'avenir.
Future is yours to see.
Voir le futur, réaliser l'avenir.
All right, there we go. So with that, I will pass it over to Rochelle, and Mark, you can feel free to throw the slides back up.
Perfect. Thank you, Jessica. No, and so in terms of what I wanted to talk to you guys all about, I think really just jumping off of what Jessica walked through in our intro to about our history of who we are and really what we're doing. I think what we wanted to be able to do is to provide kind of a high level of some of the things that Jessica mentioned, to really put some images into, well, what exactly are we doing? What has been keeping us busy? And going a little bit deeper into some of those. So as Jessica mentioned, right, our global presence, and she said many more, that's exactly what we're hoping to do, is expand. So obviously our head office in Toronto, overseas as well, and really looking to take that further within the markets that we're looking to expand into. And even within London as well, we do have our Tradeport subsidiary that's there as well, which is our primary network and data platform for our European wholesale markets. So a lot of different events going on there and looking to expand from a global perspective. Our trading strategy, right? What are we about? What are we doing? This is everything that we're thinking about, constantly looking on ways to be more innovative and looking at the products and services that we provide. And in terms of our innovative talent strategy, what does that mean? And that's really, the team that you're looking at today, and us working so hard to ensure that we are constantly innovating the way that we look at talent here at the TMX, and our talent initiatives and our approaches, and really just looking to make sure that we are continuing to retain top talent, but also attract new talent. And that's part of our conversations with all of you today, and getting the word out there and learning more too about what our candidate pools are looking for. Operations and technology overhaul. Jessica mentioned this as well. What is the technology and the innovation that we're looking for? You think of the exchange. We've been around for a very long time, as you saw from the video. What does that mean? That means keeping up with the times, moving forward as well. And what do we need? We need the best technology and infrastructure to be able to do that. So really looking at what those best technologies are, and as an organization working together to ensure that we're being more future focused, cloud focused, and continuing to keep up with some of our peers and competitors in the industry. You'll also see regulatory and compliance. Really, that's a huge part of who we are. Being one of the largest stock exchanges and the largest stock exchange in Canada, we need to be able to abide by very strict laws and regulations. So it is a heavy part of who we are in our world, and having a keen understanding of that is very big for us here. And then client focus. So with many of the services that we offer and our different entities, you saw a little bit of that earlier when Jessica was talking of Toronto Stock Exchange, our TSX Venture Exchange, as well as MX in Montreal, really focusing on our clients and our different types of clients and providing the best type of service we can possible, and what that means to our different clients across the board. So, I think for many industries, there may be, a few types of clients or one stream. For us here at the TMX, our clients look very different depending on what entity we're discussing and where we're heading. And then in terms of forward thinking, right, it kind of puts everything together, in terms of even navigating through a virtual environment, making sure that we are, continuing to move forward, that we are continuing to work together and collaborate, and pay attention to what the markets are telling us, to what our clients are telling us, to what the world is telling us, and moving forward in that way, day by day, but also thinking about the future in that sense. So we really wanted to be able to provide almost like a snapshot of what's keeping us busy, what are we doing, and fundamentally, what does that mean for us here at the TMX? So hopefully this helps to kind of give that overview. And with that in mind, I will pass it over to Saray.
Thanks, Rochelle. So for you all to have an idea of what opportunities you can apply at TMX, we've prepared some list of roles, and I'll be sharing with you the skill sets we're generally looking in candidates' profiles. But first, I need to say that TMX is considered as a fintech company, which refers to the integration of technology into offerings by financial services in order to improve their use and delivery to their customers. So we have at TMX what we call a global technology services group. So it's AKA IT, which is actually the largest team and makes up 30% of the overall TMX family. That being said, our team is hiring a lot for these types of roles, and the most popular ones are on the slide. So generally speaking, we're looking for candidates with a combination of specific behaviors that are part of our values, as my colleagues have mentioned, and also with some technical background for sure. But first, if we can talk about the soft skills we're looking, we're looking for people with an innovative approach, also some experience working in different methodologies, like agile mindset is really the most popular one. We're also looking for people with a great sense of initiative, also people who demonstrate a solution-driven approach or have an entrepreneurial mindset. And of course, good communication skills always is a win in every role you apply. In regards to technical skill sets, it depends on each role, so in each environment. So we would look for any profiles with back-end experience, front-end experience. I would say automation is quite a trend in the world of IT. We also look for people with coding experience like Python. C++ is still in our, current in our environment. Any people with testing skills who wants to work in the quality assurance area, we need you. We also look for people with big data experience, clouds experience, and for leadership roles, or some of you who are very organized and you'd like to handle projects, we have roles for you in our project management office. And in our interviews, we would also ask you about some of your current and new technologies, knowledge or experience that you have, any certifications that you're pursuing or you already have on your resume. You would also see a lot of roles in info security because it's very important in our environment since we deal with securities and money. We've been also hiring to help us leverage our enterprise platforms such as Workday. I don't know if you all guys know, or Salesforce, which is a CRM. So overall, if your background is in IT, you would be developing in-house platform or solutions and contribute to product development. And also, well, you'll have a great impact for sure in our industry and customer. So that's a glance picture of our opportunities in our IT world. So if we can go to thank you, Mark, the next slide. So in regards to finance, we've put a list of typical roles as well as part of the different groups. So could be roles related in our corporate finance, if you have any experience with budgeting, planning, accounting, so it would be falling in this area. If you have any experience with capital markets, you're very welcome. You would be working in our capital formation group or TSX trust or listing on our listings. So, we really help companies getting onboarded at the TSX. Any people who have experience niche like derivatives would be working on at Montreal Exchange, which is a very different market there. And also, you can also have apply in any opportunities related to the post-trading services, which include the Canadian Depository Services, called CDS, and CDCC, which is related to Canadian Derivatives Clearing Corporation. So, these are very, acronyms, a lot of acronyms we use in our environment. And also, we have other roles like in compliance, legal group, marketing, but generally speaking, the skill set we need would be like a degree in finance, any experience in banking or capital markets would be preferred. If you have any designation like a CFA or a Canadian security course called the CSC, sorry. These would be preferred. Also, stay abreast of the capital markets really, would stand out from any other candidate because our market evolves very much. And in regards to the soft skills, well, we work with clients, so being customer oriented is very important for us. So any customer service experience, please share with us. Communication again is very important. You have any detail oriented experience, that's really nice because we have a lot of roles that entail rigorous controls of securities and their activities. So now I'm going to turn to Mark, who will be sharing with you some of the great projects our teams are working on.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sarah. So on screen, you'll see there's 4 projects that are currently underway with us at TMX. There are a number of other ones, but these are 4 projects that I just wanted to mention this evening. The first one is TMX Money, and TMX Money was actually completed last year, 2020. Might be our most popular project in that it's a portal for investors, for organizations to share information. There's all kinds of information on different organizations there. We have about 3.5 million visitors per month. So it's a great avenue to kind of tell your story and share your story as an organization through the TMX Money community. It provides real-time data, market data. You can set up your own dashboard. You can set up a watch list and things like that. So it is completed. However, there's always tweaks and upgrades that are being made, and I know we have some developers that are always working on that project and keeping it upgraded and keeping it current. The second project I'd like to mention is post-trade modernization. This has been going on for about 5 years now. It is nearing its completion. Someone explained to me, it's like replacing the pipes in your house. We had to change the infrastructure, really upgrade it, moving essentially from green screens, CDSX mainframe technology, to more modern technology that's scalable. Again, to Sorera's point, and also Rochelle's, this is just part of us evolving as an organization and keeping up with the times. The next project is Asia Extended Trading Hours. So this particular project, we've decided, I think as of September, decided to upgrade or extend our operation hours to 20.5 hours per day, aligning with the Asian markets open. This is a really important milestone for us and for MX's international expansion as well as the globalization of the Canadian capital markets. With this, we'll be able to actively market our products in this jurisdiction and educate the broader audience of the benefits of our Canadian products. Last but not least is the acquisition of AST, and this is our newest, project. We are acquiring AST. The final details are being worked on. I think it'll be finalized probably by September. And this acquisition allows for the expansion of our global presence. The TMX group announced, as I mentioned, in September, that we'd be getting into an agreement to acquire AST Investor Services and its subsidiary of AST Trust Company in Canada. And this is a leading provider of transfer agency, corporate trust, and related services to Canadian public and private companies. So again, adding to the TMX portfolio and hopefully reaching more clients. So next, I'm going to turn it over to Sorera, who's going to talk about our recruitment process.
Thanks, Mark. So from the companies and recruitment team perspective, we thought that you may want to learn a little bit about some behind the scenes process. So you can see the steps on the slides, and of course, we don't want to spend time on each item. Maybe it's gonna feel boring for you. But each step is important, so we can target the right candidate with the right skill set. So that means that before an opportunity is posted on our website and you can view it and apply on it, we really take time to sit down with the hiring manager and talk about the skill set their team needs and how you will contribute to that role to be successful. So that's what we call the engage model, which is the term we use internally, which is sort of a collaboration between the hiring manager and the recruiter. And as part of this recruitment model, we also discuss about diversity. In our role as talent acquisition partners, we all know that talents can come from anywhere, could be from BIPOC, LGBTQ, any other groups or communities, because TMX is an equal opportunity employer that focuses on diversity and inclusion. And we evaluate each candidate on objective criteria. So you can ensure that you're evaluated equally. So maybe you don't have the visibility, but we've been using techniques and tools more and more often to reduce unconscious bias. So you'll also get to know through interviews our culture, our values, which what we like to call the DNA of an employer. Also, if you're selected and your profile matches, you'll be meeting with your future manager and some team members maybe, and see if you'll fit with them. You may want also to find out about our learning and development opportunities, what the company can bring you. Is there a good personal work-life balance? What are the benefits, the perks? What are the advancement opportunities? Will I be able to work from home? So those are the types of questions that you can ask us. What's also important for us is that we put the candidate's experience at the forefront. I'm sure you probably had experience where you got an interview for a job but never heard back or didn't get any updates, and it could be frustrating, we agree. So at TMX, our team values communication. So if you're engaged in the process, we'll make sure to also engage with you until the closure. And we expect the same from you. So for you as a candidate, this also translates into a more transparent and efficient recruitment process. And bottom line, we just want to share that your experience as a candidate is really on top of our priorities. And lastly, on the slide at the bottom, as you can see, that's where you get the job. So we'll also make sure that you'll get a smooth onboarding process, even through this pandemic situation, like Jessica mentioned earlier. But we have everything organized in a virtual environment, just from getting your IT equipment ready to be shipped to your home. We thought about this, and to preparing you to meet your new colleagues for meet and greets. So, you know, your first day is important, and we want you to feel welcome. We want you to remember that first day. So I hope you've been able to learn more about the candidate experience at TMX. So now Rochelle will talk about some great tips we can share with you to be successful in your job search.
Awesome. Thanks, Saray. And just to go off of that, I think, you know, for Sorero, really walking everyone through and sharing what the experience is like for us here and what we walk our candidates through. What I'm hoping to do today in our discussion is really give you some insights into what we've all experienced being in talent, are some of the questions that we get on a day-to-day basis, whether it be in our inboxes, in phone calls, which is really, you know, hey, Rochelle, what do I need to do, or what do I need to have to be considered for this role, or what does the right candidate look like for this role that I'm really interested in? And if it's not now, what will it look like later? So there are a few things that are up here, and just like Sorera, I'm definitely not going to read through every single one of them and have you guys be like snoozing on us. What I really want to do is maybe touch on a few while they're up there, and you guys, of course, can read through as well. Some of the key ones that we really want to share and maybe zone in on a little bit more. So something that Sorera also mentioned is really understanding the organization. Of course, through interviews, you'll learn that, but I think the journey of understanding starts before in your job search and before you actually make that initial contact with the organization of your choice for the role that you're really excited about. So understanding the organization and the business needs is always key. Of course, once you make that contact, you get to know so much more. But I think really studying that job description, but then taking it away and saying, okay, what is the organization obviously involved in, doing a little bit more deeper research, and coming prepared with maybe some questions that you have. And I know for all of us, that's always really, really, you know, we really do appreciate that when a candidate comes with their own research done initially. I think that definitely says a lot once they do get into the interview process. And even with the pointed questions, it shows that keen interest that you have. And also in regards to values, I know values has been kind of at the forefront of a lot of the conversations you're hearing going on today. It has always been there, but I think even more now than ever, with business and people one-on-one, it really does matter, and it's pushing forward and it's driving everything that we do. So really taking a closer look at, okay, this is the business, this is what they're about, but what are the organizational values? And I'm sure you can find this on the organization's website, very much so highlighted. Maybe going more into what are some of the other things that they're involved in and what pushes them. So some keywords that I always look for is values and competencies. What does the organization value? How are they operating, and what are the methods that they're using, and what is the impact on people, culture, the environment? Really looking to see those types of things and understanding if that aligns with your values. These are also really important in conversations when you do get the interview, when you do make the initial contact. And something else that you'll see there, and I'm sure many of you know this and have done this, we see this and we think it's great, highlighting your experience that is relevant to the role on your resume. So if it's for a particular position where you've done this before, which I'm sure many of you have for maybe some of the roles that you're applying for, you've been doing this for years, or there's certain skill sets that you already possess, designations, certifications that you possess, that this role is required. Almost bringing that to the forefront of your resume and highlighting that, whether that be at the right at the beginning of your resume, but in a way that's very straightforward, kind of a great summary, and not so much filler words. I know sometimes we think we have all this great experience and we want to get as much on our resume as possible. That could actually be to your detriment rather than to your favor right away. So really focusing on what is it that you want to convey. And then when you do get that initial opportunity, taking the time to walk us through, we really do appreciate that. But I think definitely taking the time to adhere your resume to what the role is and what you're looking for. Another piece with that, which comes with, of course, knowing your strengths, is also knowing your weaknesses as well, right? So we want to highlight our strengths, and maybe not weaknesses, but room for improvement or areas that you can develop and grow. So transparency is always key in the recruitment process. I feel like all of us would be shaking our heads right now. We talk to a lot of great candidates every single day. And I think, sometimes people feel like they need and they want the role and they really know they'll do a good job. Sometimes, we tend to maybe inflate or be really excited about our experience. And while the opportunity is there to learn, I think the transparency of, okay, here's what I'm really good at, but here's maybe some of the areas where I'm looking to improve and I'm looking to get the exposure, because as we all know, you cannot get experience to something if you don't get the opportunity to do it, right? So it's never a bad thing. It's always good to be really transparent with your experience when initially in your resume, on your LinkedIn, and then in your conversations with recruiters and talent partners such as ourselves. Something else that I really wanted to mention that we have up here is really knowing and being able to discuss what is your professional brand. And I think a lot of us, when we hear this, what is my professional brand? It's still in the making. I'm still working on it day to day. And this really is the ability to articulate and demonstrate what are your unique strengths and how do you differ from your competition, right? So this is truly your value add to the organization, your value add that you would bring to any company. And this can really come from some of those softer skills that Sarera mentioned earlier, right? That's great. You have all of these really great technical skills. You've had all this kind of work behind you. But what are some problems that you've solved and how did you solve them? How do people feel about you at the end of the day? And how does that maybe tie into the organization's values of their work and their competencies? So really finding ways to sell yourself in that way where it's your technical skills, which are very important and needed, but you as a person and your value, because that's something that no one can take away from you. So really working on your professional brand, and it's something that it's a day-to-day and throughout your career. I don't think you can ever just be finalized and done with. And something else is consistency. So I talked about it a little bit. I know some of us, we may be more heavier users on LinkedIn. I know for us here at TMX and Talent, LinkedIn is like our everything for sourcing. We're all over it. I think sometimes we wish we could be all over it even more if we weren't so busy, but it's something that we use every day to day. So we are always looking at LinkedIn, and that is something that I think I can't stress enough, is the consistency of what you're presenting in your resume. One of the first things sometimes I do is if I get a resume, I go quickly check on LinkedIn to see if I can connect with the person, or set up a time maybe to quickly chat or see, if it aligns, if the experience that they have on their resume sometimes does align with what they're saying out there to the public on LinkedIn. So definitely make sure that things are consistent. Use LinkedIn as a forum to say what you may not be able to say on your resume. We talk about it all the time in the team. On LinkedIn, you're able to almost get kudos and shout outs from your former colleagues. If there was a course that you were a part of or you were enrolled in that is very relevant to what you're looking to do or step into, highlight that on your LinkedIn. So really use it as an opportunity to put yourself out there more and highlight yourself more in maybe ways that someone won't get from, a piece of your resume in a group of or pool of candidates. But consistency is definitely key. So definitely take the time to do that for sure. And one other thing that I wanted to mention, just because I know with the team in our conversations, we've talked about this many times, the art of follow-up. I think all of us can see that there. What does that mean, the art of follow-up? So, I think in any job search, we've all been there, all of us on the team included. When you see something that you're really interested in, or job hunting can really fatigue. It can be exhausting. I think in a virtual environment as well, it can really take a toll. And sometimes you get really excited. Sometimes you get really disappointed. But in the art of follow-up, you're probably going to meet a lot of different people along the way, including HR professionals like ourselves, who you make contact with. And sometimes this may happen where, you hear from us and then some time goes by and you haven't heard from us. And I know we can all attest to say we all do our best of following up to let you know, to keep you posted, to keep you in tune to what's going on. There always is something going on in the background. We are working hard for you. And I think sometimes, we do have candidates sometimes that just want to know what's happening. They're eager to say, hey, like I had a really great conversation. I want to know what's next. And sometimes that comes with multiple emails, multiple messages. And I think, being there myself some time ago too, you think, you're being diligent. And of course you're being really eager, which is a great and wonderful thing. But there is an art to it, right? There is a way of approaching that. And I think really following up maybe every now and then, setting some time maybe so there's time apart. If you haven't heard from someone, maybe if they said they would get back to you in about a week or two and then they haven't, sending a quick message, and always sweet and simple. But something that could really, kind of go the wrong way is the inundation. And if you don't get a hold of that person, and maybe sometimes checking to see other members of the team and sending messages, we all do talk, we all do communicate. So we never want your brand to be almost a little bit tarnished before you've had the opportunity to really show what you can do. So that's a little bit of kind of the internal advice that we've seen across, our different, jobs that we've worked in TMX as well, is we are always thinking of you. We are always working for you. Even if you don't hear from us right away, you are on our mind and we're working to make it happen. Just bear with us. And I think for all of us, we do try our best to get back to everyone that we connect with. I know I've been trying my best to do that, especially on LinkedIn as well, but hopefully that could help with some of the things that we're doing. And I hope you guys find these tips helpful. And I think I'm gonna turn it over maybe for questions, but thanks guys.
So thank you is Mark saying something?
I was just gonna open it for questions if there are any questions out there.
Perfect. First of all, thank you, TMX team. That was really, really valuable. Thank you for your presentation. It helps a lot of people, especially us as newcomers, to understand TMX better. And without further ado, I request Ohita to take over the Q&A session.
Awesome. Thank you so much, team. So for every participant, now we're in the question and answer section. Can everyone hear me? Awesome. Perfect. So at the bottom of your screen, you would see the reactions icon. Please use the raise the hand button, and then I will call you in that order for your questions. If perchance you want to type your questions in the chat box, please feel free and I will read out your questions. And now the floor is open. Does anyone have any questions right off the bat? All right, I could start. So some of you were kind enough to send in your questions ahead of time. So I will start to ease the room, and I hope that after a few questions, a number of you would unmute yourself. So the first question I have here, I think Jessica, you will be able to answer this question. It says, if one has taken out time to have a baby and care for the baby, does this need to be explained on a CV as there would be a gap?
I am a firm believer that whenever you have a gap on your resume, that should be addressed, whether it's to pursue studies, whether you took a sabbatical, whether you decided, you were going to explore the African or wilderness on a safari, something like that, for any period that is longer than a couple of months. absolutely address that. Those gaps are really what make us and our professional profile who we are as humans. And especially in today's day and age where, the evolution of woman has really come, the woman in the workplace has come leaps and bounds during COVID. And I think any woman on this call who is a mother or, a partner, whoever it is, has understood that, companies have had no choice, to understand that, we have our kids home with us and, momming comes first. So absolutely, yes, if you have taken a break for maternity leave or a sabbatical or to pursue studies or do your master's, please do include it because those are the things that make your professional profile what it is.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica.
And being a mom boss is the biggest thing. That's number one. So something to be
and
proud of.
maybe to add to Jessica's point, it's not just mommy nowadays. Daddies can take their
Parental
leaves as
leave.
well.
Yep.
Yeah. So it works for both parents, whatever, whatever your parent, like gender and everything.
I agree. Thank you so much. So Ali, you had your hand raised first. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Firstly, thank you for sharing the insights about the company. They were quite valuable, and your dynamic experience is quite motivating for us. I have recently moved to Canada, and I'm a business development professional. So one thing which I want to ask, especially Jessica, that you're talking about connecting with the HR people. I mean, it's understandable that they must be, if I'm connecting with them, they must be getting a lot of messages from multiple people. So how should we counter? I mean, how can we connect with them?
So are you asking more so to like set yourself apart or something like that? Is that what you're looking to do? Okay. So I'll talk a little bit about this, and then I'll also let Rochelle chat a bit about this because I know she had some great advice about how to set yourself apart and network. But networking is what it is, right? Sometimes networking is going to go really well for individuals, and sometimes networking, you are not going to get a response. That is the natural part of and the evolution of networking. And as a business development professional, I'm sure that you've had your shares of cold calls that maybe have gone unanswered. I know I had them when I was in sales as well. My recommendation is always to find something that you have in common with the individual. So whether it's something as simple as something you've studied, you've taken a look at their LinkedIn page and you noted that there's a specific group, musician or whatever it may be that you have in common. Those are typically the things that I find will really work to set you apart versus the standard, hey, Jessica, I noticed that you have this role on your website and I'm really interested. Can we chat? Okay, that's the standard sort of response. But really identifying key areas where you may have something in common, sharing a fact or a fun tidbit about yourself that will set you apart. Sharing, as Rochelle mentioned, a recommendation that you got on LinkedIn about your sales skills or something like that. Really, that's what it is creating a unique message that's different and tailored for every person that you reach out to and network with. I don't know if anybody else wants to add to that.
Can I?
Yeah,
I want to agree as well with everything you said, but still do be specific about what what you're looking for. If it is a job posting, be specific about your experience and your interest in that role. Because sometimes, if it's someone that just wants to say hi, that's very nice. But at the end of the day, I want to know, okay, what did you see? What are you interested in? How can I help you in that regard? So everything that Jessica said, but at the end of the day, be specific about what you're looking for.
If you don't mind, I would like to add here that, Mark, I approached a couple of people. There were different startups. The job was purely business development. I loved it, but I wanted to know more about the company before just applying for the sake of applying. So I texted a recruiter asking them, I want to know more about the company. And I explicitly mentioned that I'm not asking for any favorable treatment compared to the other candidates. I just wanted to know more about the company, but no response.
Oh, that's a great approach. What you did is right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Ali, like I said, I think you took the right approach there, and and as I'm sure you can understand, you win some, you lose some, right? The key is to remain, persistent in a way, as we talked about, being the art of the follow-up is very important, as we mentioned. But being persistent without being aggressive, I think, is always a good way to approach it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ali. The next up, Papia. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, TMX panelists, for taking time for us, I must say. And one of my question will be, I'm just curious to understand the company's perspective, irrespective of the equity, diversity, and inclusion initiatives. I just want to know that what are some initiatives TMX is taking right now to make sure the recruitment process and the whole team members and the whole community has implemented these EDI initiatives. Would you mind sharing that with us? Thank you so much.
Sarera, you talked a little bit about that, or Mark, if you want to chat a bit about that.
Yeah, I'll chime in that the timing of your question is perfect. As an organization, we are actually going through a review, I'd say, of our values and our kind of approach to ED&I. We've actually just gone through a number of focus groups internally. We've put through a number of surveys as well to get a pulse of how employees are feeling. We're literally in the process of compiling that information, but I can say that in the last year we've taken a look at ourselves. Took a look at our values, trying to craft values that are resonating more with our employees than the ones that we had before. It's part of the evolution. Times change, people change. So, so that's something I just wanted to mention, that we're right now in the process of reviewing, our approach in that regard. To the point that we are hiring, we're looking for direction in hiring some senior leaders in those areas of ED&I.
Yeah, and recently, just from some couple specific things that we've done as well, we've partnered with a vendor to remove unconscious bias from our job descriptions. Our organization has made a pledge to the Indigenous community as well as part of one of our shareholder agreements. We are going to be providing more support funding to the Indigenous communities here in Canada. As a Canadian company with deep Canadian roots, this is a cause that's really important to us as well. And among that, we've also, as Mark said, established an ED&I council. We've done a number of surveys to understand and assess what our landscape looks like as an employee population to ensure. And again, from our interviewing practices, we have standard interview and competency guides with rating systems to ensure fair and equitable treatment across the board as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica and Mark, for answering that question. Next up, Jessica. Jessica?
Oh, hi, can you hear me? Oh, thanks so much for all the panelists sharing the information. It's really useful. I have a question. As you have mentioned, like TMX is client focused, and it have been assigning employees into different client portfolios. Like, do we have to be familiar with the client's industry or their business before we enter to the company? Or especially as a student, I don't have much experiences. So yeah, that's my question. Yeah.
Yeah, so our talent partners are assigned to specific client portfolios. So we don't expect anyone to have subject matter expert knowledge coming in at an entry level as a student or anything like that. But maybe I can shoot it over to Rochelle to talk a little bit about some of the programs that we have specifically targeted for students across the organization or for entry level talent.
Thank you.
And thanks, Jessica, for your question. No, in terms of not having any industry experience, I think, with us understanding we're the largest exchange in Canada, we are, a very specialized industry. And I think, we talked a lot about capital markets, but to dig a little deeper into coming in with that entry level experience or just looking to kickstart your career, we do have a really great, robust student program that we're looking to even expand upon and build out further with a lot of our ED&I practices. But in terms of the two streams of programs, we have internships that are available for those who are studying, those who are in current programs. We partner with universities, colleges. So that is part of our ED&I approach and initiative as well. Is, of course, some of the other programs are more focused around capital markets, but we want to expand that net because we understand that, again, many people may be interested, but they may be in different circumstances or, not come from that background previously where they've known someone in the industry to get started. So we work with a lot of the different colleges and schools there to partner and do monthly internships from that perspective. And we also have what we call our associate program, which are for those students or non-students, but those who have recently graduated and, looking to kickstart their career. We have them on a rotational program where they actually have the most wonderful opportunity to go through a 2-year rotation throughout our organization, where they get to be in different areas of the organization. And maybe some of you are familiar that they do this at the banks as well and some of the larger financial institutions. Us being a more medium-sized organization, what I love about TMX is the scope of your work is much broader. You get to have your hands in a lot of different things, which, as you can probably know, just adds to your experience in that sense. So yeah, definitely some opportunities there. And I think we discussed this sometime too, as part of our taking a relook and a visit at our values and the type of talent. We are looking as well to target more entry-level talent into our organization, and what does that look like and those opportunities. So as we grow, we will be looking at expanding that demographic as well.
Thank you for sharing. It's really useful. Thanks.
No problem.
Rochelle. I'm actually in a leadership program myself at RBC, and I think the rotational programs are really, really good. Ankur?
Hi, thank you for telling us about the culture at TMX and how the organization is transforming. You talked about the technology overhaul, and I wanted to know how project managers are helping and supporting some of those projects or initiatives.
Great question.
Yeah, absolutely. They are integral to these projects. They obviously keeping budgets in line, making sure the teams are making the right progress, working with vendors, working with internal stakeholders. They're absolutely integral to all of these projects. And it's the challenge is finding the ones that have the mix of the technical skills and the soft skills, right? You're dealing with people all through it, never mind the technology. You're dealing with people at all different levels of the organization. So, the challenge is finding that right mix of soft skills and technical skills. People that have worked in large scale projects that we are, releasing and working on. That experience is key as well. Just because, who we are in the capital markets, a lot of these projects are very, they're integral, they're very, very key to operations in capital markets. So, for a lot of roles, we're going to need a lot of experience.
Thank you.
Did I answer your question? Or?
Yes, that was helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. John, you're up next.
Okay. Thank you for the very informative session. My question is twofold. And the first is I wanted to find out if the Canadian security course, if it's a prerequisite for getting on board in your organization. And the second question goes to that what opportunities are there for people who are desirous of a career change? For example, before coming here, or with an economics background, obviously I work specifically in the university environment before coming to Canada. And if I now have the desire to get into finance, are there opportunities for me, knowing that on my resume, there will be nothing there to say that I have done something related to some of the tasks I'll be doing at your end? Yeah. Are there opportunities for that? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So first of all, this Canadian securities course is not a mandatory requirement for roles at our organization. It helps, of course, to have that knowledge. If you're entering into a career that's within some specific business units, risk, audit, etc. Sometimes we do require it for those roles, but even then, it's typically a nice to have, and it's something that we encourage people, if you are interested in working in our industry, to get. I myself don't have my Canadian securities course, and I'm doing just fine. So I think that could speak to this, but no. And then to answer your second question, while of course experience within the capital markets and finance is highly desirable for us, and people understanding how to navigate our world and how to navigate, some of the more complex business needs that we have, it's absolutely not a must-have. And I think a lot of people have come into our organization and been very successful with absolutely no capital markets or finance background at all. The real thing that we look for is your experience and your attitude towards the work. So for example, you said you worked at a university, which I can imagine is a very complex matrixed environment, lots of regulations, lots of things to follow. Those things are all, lots of collaboration. Perhaps you were working on projects where you required a detail-oriented mindset, and you had to work with numerous Excel spreadsheets with information and mass lines and VLOOKUPs and pivot tables and all that jazz. Those things are all skills that are great. Doesn't mean that you have to be a finance guru to possess them, right? So that's really, I think, a key thing that, sometimes I feel that when individuals and job seekers, especially those that are coming, entering the Canadian workforce, you tend to be very critical of yourself and your own skills, because you're looking at the job descriptions and saying, okay, well, there's 10 must-have skills here and I only have 6. Oh, well, you've got 6. That's great. You're doing better than a lot of other people who've probably applied to the role. So as Michael Jordan said, our good friend, you will miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And that is the best advice I think that we can give to any job seeker, is that don't let the CSC certification stop you. Don't let, your lack of finance experience stop you. Focus on what skills you do have that are related to the job description that make you so great, and tell us all about that and highlight all about those. And then the finance piece you can worry about in the interview.
Awesome. John, does that answer your question?
Oh, yes. Thank you very much.
Pep talk.
Awesome. In that line, someone actually asked as well, can the IFIC be replaced with the CSC certificate?
Yeah, definitely FIC. Yeah, depending on the roles, the FIC could be something that is a nice to have. So that would be the answer to that.
Thank you. Azim, you're next. Azim? Azim, are you there?
Oh, we can't hear you.
Azim, are you speaking? Because we can't hear you. Oh, okay. We can hear you.
Do you want to put your question in the chat for us, maybe, Azim?
Yeah. Awesome. While we wait, Sumaya, could you ask your question?
Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Like TMX is really like a dream company for the students in the business, in finance, and who want to pursue the capital market. So thank you so much again. I was looking in the associate program, which is for the recent graduates. So my first question is that what technical skills do you specifically look for in this program, in the associate program? And my second question is that, do you consider work experience outside Canada? Like if those are relevant to the role, like capital market experience. Thank you so much.
Team, I don't mind jumping in, and of course, feel free to add anything. But I think, as I mentioned before, and it's so great to see that you're looking into our programs. That makes me really happy to see and know that. But in terms of some of the skill sets, just to echo off of what Jessica mentioned, I think really fundamentally, absolutely any type of working experience, whether that be contract jobs, internships, anything that you've had before coming to Canada that is relevant to the experience that we're looking for, absolutely, please always include that on your resume, highlight that is part of your years of experience, part of what you have to bring to the table. And then I guess I'll go back to, in a reverse way, your other question. in terms of the skill sets from the program of study, really, whether it be business, as you mentioned, or, different types of administration, really, we're always just looking for that type of go get it attitude. I think Jessica really talked about that. You're eager, you want to learn. That's why we have the associate and student programs in place in the first place, is that you are coming in. We want someone to have the opportunity to build their career and gain those years of experience while at TMX and make it their home. So we definitely don't expect anyone coming in to have the industry experience or to have that real life work experience in school. And, it goes without saying, you are working on, whether it be presentation skills. I think these are some of the things that are important. Being comfortable, speaking. I think we all, including all of us here in the talent team today, right? Speaking in front of a group of people can always be nerve-wracking, and you're doing a great job. And that's always something that we work on constantly, right? So some of those softer skills, some of the more technical ones would be, as Jessica mentioned, right? Always beefing up on your Microsoft skills, Excel, the different things that you can take outside to really just show, hey, this is what I'm doing to continue to build myself. So always working on yourself in those sense, but never ever think that you have to have exactly that industry experience coming in. That's what we're here for. We want students to be able to come in and spread their wings and learn.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rochelle. So Azim's question is, do you believe that there would be any roles in your company for someone who was a teacher?
Maybe I can answer on that, because in my 14 years of experience at TMX, I remember hiring teachers. So so you're welcome, teachers. And I would say maybe, to have a plus is, some experience. Could be just like, it could be something like, client services could be a great combination as well, so because we know teaching is, you would have like great communication skills, and, you have that trend, you're generous in sharing your knowledges. So that those things we really like to have in our organization. So yeah, I would say you're, put that on your resume.
Awesome. Thank you so much. P. Perek 2 at Seneca.
Hi, I'm recently graduated from financial planning, and I'm looking for a job in finance related field, specifically in financial analyst or financial planning. So my question to you is, what kind of candidate are specifically looking for those kind of roles? And I have a background in HR and customer service. So how should I show soft skills on my resume and any interview process, that how does it translate into finance related job description posting? Hello?
Yes. Sorry, you cut out in the beginning of your statement there, but I can pick up on the second part of it, as far as trying to get your you had mentioned about soft skills and bringing that through. Hello? Oh. Yeah, I wanted to touch on the soft skills part. I mean, that comes through in all of your interactions with, recruiters, hiring managers. It'll come through in your introduction, your first email that I receive. Any conversation, I pick up the phone. Sometimes I like to call people maybe a little bit unexpectedly, but to be honest, the interview process starts there, just your interaction, just your presence, the way that you speak with people on the phone, that all comes through in every interaction. So I just wanted to pick up on that point. I missed, I think, the beginning of your question.
Okay, so my beginning of my question, since I have HR experience and customer service experience, but I'm looking in a job related to finance, but I have a strong academic background related to finance and accounting. So what kind of tips would you give me to go in customer related finance related, job postings, like what kind of soft skills should I show on resume? Those are questions, like some tips.
Yeah. Well, to Rochelle's point too in the beginning, highlight that that experience you have that is, towards finance. A lot of times when you look at a job posting, it's been my experience, the first 3-5 points are the pressure points of that role, right? Those are the areas where that hiring manager needs help. If you have that experience, highlight it, bring it to the front, bring it to the forefront. Let us recruiters see that, I have to call this guy because, these points here, at least a few of them, he's addressed, that he has experience there. So I would say, especially, when you are making a bit of a transition or it may not be abundantly clear from your experience, highlight that information, bring it to the top so we can't miss it.
Yeah, and sort of to piggyback on what Mark shared, as a general sort of recommendation for any resume writing, tailoring your resume to each role is super important, and using specific examples. So instead of, when you have a specific role listing, your role responsibilities, processed XYZ transactions, spoke with customers, things like that. Instead, use examples of how you solved complex problems. Use, a way that you show how and provide evidence on how you effectively communicated. Was that through solving, was that through limiting the amount of tickets that came in on the ticketing system when you were doing customer support? Is it through, creating an Excel spreadsheet with a specific formula that resulted in less, human power being used on these calculations, and it was automated, which resulted in, more efficient work processes and therefore resulting in more budget saved. Companies love to save money. So things that you've done to, reduce budget or, increase productivity through those fundamental skills like communication skills, being a good problem solver, being an analytical thinker. How you show problem solving and analytical thinking is sharing how you solve problems, right? So these are the kind of things that, for any skill set, I think are really important to include on your resume. And especially to, like you said, to leverage on your skills from HR, communication skills, excellent. But it's and also, from a finance perspective, sometimes we find that with finance professionals, they're very analytical thinking. They have all of the, nuts and bolts for what position we need. But when it comes to expressing those concepts to non-technical audiences, they struggle. So that's where you can leverage your HR experience, where you can say, hey, I actually know how to communicate these technical concepts to individuals who may not have the same technical knowledge as me. And you can showcase how you've done that in the past on your resumes. And that's not to generalize finance people or to pick on them, finance professionals in particular. It's just, it tends to happen with a lot of technical or more analytical thinkers that, communicating that to someone who doesn't have the same knowledge base as you can be challenging. And it's something that they often are working on.
Thanks a lot for giving me some tips regarding job hunting and resume, showing how to translate soft skills. Thanks a lot.
I have a question. I have two questions actually. So the first one is that, so I'm going to use an analogy. So I'm looking for an opportunity, and on the job description, the first thing it says is 8 to 10 years of experience, and I only have 3 years of experience. So how do I, in as much as, even though I've done something similar to the person with 8 years of experience has done, because while I was doing my 3 years experience, I was wearing many hats, I was juggling so many balls, and I've been able to build that experience in 3 years. So how should I still go ahead and apply? Is that going to disqualify me from getting my resume review? Number one. Number two question is that I have a portfolio of projects I've worked on in the past. And there's this common saying that recruiters only look at your resume in 7 seconds. Should I still, and I have a website where all my portfolio of projects are sitting, should I still include the link to that portfolio? Will that give me a leverage, and will that give me an opportunity? Will the recruiter actually check that portfolio out in 7 seconds? So those are my two questions.
All right. So for your first question, with the years of experience, we look at where that experience is. So you may only have 3 where the job is asking for 6, but maybe there's 6 as an environment. Maybe it's a larger organization where they only do one thing. They do one thing repeatedly, whereas in a smaller organization, a startup, I love startup experience, because I know you're wearing 7 hats. I know you're getting involved in different things. You're maybe involved in more decision making, more responsibilities. So, we'll look at where that 3 years is, to use your example, versus the job description, certainly. And your second question, sorry, was?
So I have a portfolio of projects, but it says that recruiters only review resumes in 7 seconds. Will my portfolio be reviewed?
Yes. Depends on the role. And this I'm going to speak to my experience. It depends on the role, to be honest. There are roles where the hiring manager would certainly ask for a portfolio, would want to see that type of background, in your experience. And then some other roles, it's not relevant, it's not required. So, it's certainly, it's the typical lawyer answer, it depends. It really depends on the role and what the objective is.
Yeah, and I think we're all guilty as recruitment professionals of doing the 7-second thing. I think it's, and I'm glad you called that out. It's absolutely true, especially, those of us coming from recruitment agencies where we're used to, fire rapid kind of firing off candidates. But I will say, that's where, things that I mentioned about being really strategic and tailoring your resume come into place, right? And having those specific examples, talking about some of those key motivators and some of those key successes that you've had really come into play. And having a portfolio on your resume is never a bad thing. Having a link to your website, a link to your work, a link to whatever it may be, whether it's a personal portfolio, it never hurts, because especially for roles where a portfolio is required, if we already have it, you're already a step ahead, right? So like I said, it doesn't hurt to include that. Also, same thing with a cover letter too, right? I know that there's a large stigma around cover letters, and if recruiters actually look at them, yeah, there is a possibility that majority of us probably won't look at it. But hey, it's always nice when it's there. So I always recommend that, hey, if you have the time to write a cover letter, it doesn't go wasted, where you can really narrow in on your accomplishments, where you can really share some of those great recommendations you've gotten on LinkedIn, where you can share all of that great information and how you can contribute to this role. Things like this, they never hurt.
Can I add to, on a cover letter, explaining gaps? Explain gaps there as well. I got to admit, I'm not a big cover letter person. However, if there's a gap or something that doesn't make sense, I'll look to the cover letter to maybe explain it to me. Maybe you're coming from a completely different industry. I'll look at the resume, but then I'll look to the cover letter to maybe explain. Maybe you're in a transition, maybe you're looking for something new. So I just wanted to add my 2 cents there.
And sorry, I know we want to be mindful for time, but Mark, just to that, I think I've talked to a lot of candidates, and I'm sure the team has as well. If your experience before you find is not relevant to what you're currently applying for, we have seen many candidates just not include that experience, and it looks like they will have a huge gap of, let's say, a year, 2 years. Like, we know everyone's situation is different. People have different things that they're doing or working on or a part of while you're still working towards that dream job of yours. So sometimes those jobs are left out. My recommendation, exactly to Mark's point, is always include that if you're working, that is working experience, whether it's relevant to the job you're applying for or not, because you never want unexplained gaps to miss you an opportunity.
Awesome, thank you so much. Fawad, you're next.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for the extremely insightful presentation and super comprehensive. And I think a lot of the questions have been answered as well along the way. I just had a quick question, particularly for our HR professionals here, with regard to making the first touch point during a job search. Are you better off reaching out to a recruiter or to maybe someone on the technical team that you're targeting?
That's a great question. And you know what? I always say, go for it. I can't tell you the amount of candidates that we get sent over by hiring managers saying, you know, that this candidate had the gusto to reach out to me on LinkedIn or via email to introduce themselves. You know, I would say maybe 8.5 out of 10 hiring managers are going to be receptive and cool with that. You know, I would be maybe a little bit more apprehensive about reaching out to senior leaders at the C level and things like that with those types of reach outs, because they get inundated with messages a lot. We have that experience here at TMX with our open door policy. There's always, you know, something like that happens. But I would recommend that, you know, if you see an opportunity that you like and you find out that the, you know, manager of our DevOps team is who the role is indicating that it reports to, absolutely shoot the manager of the DevOps team a role. And you know what? And if you want to email us in HR as well, send us a note saying that you know, introduce yourself to the manager of DevOps. You know, not sure if he got your message, but you know, it also shows us that you've taken the initiative to do that as well. But again, remembering our art of the follow-up and things like that, you know, sometimes these business stakeholders may not be used to receiving those types of greetings, and they may not always respond.
Awesome. So we'll be taking 2 more questions before we end this session today. I'll read one from the chat box. It says, do you employ remotely full-time? For instance, I live in a province that doesn't have any presence of your offices, but can I still apply if I have the required skill sets to work remotely?
So short answer is yes. We are in the process of actually determining our flex work policy and things like that. But given how rapidly the COVID-19 situation has kind of been changing and how information has changed, it's sort of, you know, gone up and down a few times. I would say absolutely, you know, as long as somebody is within Canada, but it is role specific. So there are some roles that we wouldn't require someone to, you know, come into the office or be close to specific office to come in for certain things, or whether their role requires them to have an in-office function, you know, whether that's in our back office or something where you're actually doing something physical that you need to be in the office for. But for any role that is, for example, indicated as 100% remote, which we would indicate on our job descriptions, then those are really free for anyone across Canada to apply for. But it's really role specific.
Awesome, great. So our last question for the evening, Roger, please ask your question.
Hi, thank you very much for all the great information. I have a question, a more general question about the resume. And that is, what are your general thoughts on the importance of the summary section on the candidate CV? And more generally, how to showcase the professional brand that you were talking about without using any filler words?
Awesome.
That's tough. I'll let my team answer that one.
Well, I think, oh, wait, Mark.
No, go ahead.
No, I think again, with our experiences, I'm sure maybe the team has a different opinion than guys, hopefully it doesn't go against. But I think for me, I personally love to see a quick summary of experience. I think it's, you know, and not to the fault of, because we obviously want to make more time, but in that quick view, that 7 seconds, that 5 to 7 seconds, that may be that key word in your summary before I've even gotten into your actual work experience and where you are or where you've been. So absolutely, I think that is the kind of the first piece on the top of your resume. Again, keeping that really short and sweet, and to Jessica's point, to the rest of the team, tailoring it to the job description is really important in that sense. And I think, sorry, for your second question, maybe I'll let the team go with that.
I don't think filler words are necessarily, you know, a negative thing. I think that there's a misconception about filler words being negative, but they're not at all, because they're an important part of how you actually describe your experience. If you are, you know, strong at something, then you should indicate you're strong at something. If you're, you know, an excellent communicator, okay, well, maybe let's try, instead of excellent communication skills, let's talk about something specific and how we communicated effectively, right? So I definitely think just be mindful of the words that you're using. Try not to be too repetitive, but those words are not a bad thing at all.
Yeah, it's the repetition for sure that sometimes, you know, when you're describing your experience, you can see it. So a quick overview before you send off is always good.
And about the summary as well. I mean, it's a quick snapshot into your communication style. You know, it gives me an idea how you organize your thoughts. You know, so In that 7 seconds, believe me, we'll read that, and it'll certainly help you. It's a way to separate yourself from other candidates that don't communicate that well.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And now we have come to the end of a really informative, fantastic session. And would like to give a special thanks to Jessica, Rochelle, Serrera, Mark of the TMX team. And thank you so much to each and every one of you for taking out the time on a weeknight to, improve yourself. And hopefully this would lead to, who knows, more coffee chats, an expanded network. And there might be someone here to get a job, fingers crossed. And special thanks also to David and Abhishek of the Fresh Start Hub team in the back, who's been making sure that our network is going well. All of you joined the team joined the session seamlessly. Once again, we are the Fresh Start Hub, here to serve all immigrants in Canada. You could be an international student, you could be an express entry permanent residence as well. We're here to help you navigate your career journey. For all our free resources, please check out our website, www.thefreshstarthub.com. David has a wonderful podcast that goes out every Monday where immigrants also share about their career journeys here. We have career sessions like this. We have speed mentorships where we have immigrants who are senior executives in whatever position industries who come to actually share tips one-on-one with you participants. Thank you so much again. We will be sending a 1-minute survey to you after this. Please, and please, we promise it's 1 minute, just 2 questions for you to answer, just to give us your feedback, and also spread the word. If you know a neighbor, a friend of a friend, please let them know about Fresh Start Hub, and we'll love to have them at our next event. Thank you so much, and have
Hita, can I make a small request?
Yeah.
We had a couple of messages in the chat about unanswered questions. If it's possible, if there's a place where anyone could send their unanswered questions to, and then you can share them with, whether it's to David or whoever, to share them with us, so we can provide those, and maybe they can be posted on your social or something like that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We'll do that. We'll compile all the questions. And for everyone who had one question or the other who we couldn't get to, we genuinely apologize. We wish that we can spend the whole night together. But thank you so much, Jessica, for extending that hand of love. We really appreciate that. So we'll compile all the questions, send it to all of you. And for everyone that is on this call, I just want to take 1 minute to tell you that you have the capacity to succeed inside of you. The team here, they've taken out time on a weekday to take us through what they look for in candidates at Toronto Stock, the TMX group. So my encouragement to those of you looking for a job today is, I'm just giving you a tip that I think will be very useful, is go on their website, look for roles that you think are you're interested in, tailor your resume to them, and send it to us. I already had this conversation with Mark, and we'll be happy to share them with the team. And also remember that any information without execution is a waste. So don't just take on this information and say, oh, well, I've ticked that off my box. Execute on some of the principles they've given. Execute on some of the strategies they've shared. And don't take it personally if you didn't get a call back as a result of maybe you applied to a role or whatever. But I just want you to know that the tips they've shared is not just peculiar to TMX alone. It's peculiar to every opportunity out there that you're looking for. But like Oita already alluded to, our goal is to help you navigate your career journey faster. And the only way we can do that for you is by doing this, presenting these amazing resources to you, these amazing people, but the job is still in your hands, which is execute, execute, execute. We also have a free coaching platform. If you would like to chat with either myself, Oyita, Neil, or Abhishek, feel free to utilize that resource. Reach out to us, book us for a chat. Our Calendly link is already on the platform. You can book us, you can schedule us. We want you to succeed. We genuinely mean it. And all our resources are free, and we look forward to celebrating your success, because when you succeed, we have also succeeded. So thank you so much to the team, to the TMX group, and I will transfer it now to Ita, and then we can round it up. Thank you.
Also, please feel free to follow our panelists on LinkedIn. Please feel free to follow each and every one. Thank you so much, everyone. Jessica, Rochelle, Sarah, and Mark again. Everyone else, have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.